Hi, welcome to our second live Dungeons and Dyslexia book review. This week we are looking at Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, 4th edition, as requested by, thank you, Pookie. Actually, it was everyone on my YouTube channel, so a few people on Discord, we threw a choice out, so welcome everyone that's here. So, well, do just go around the room. Let's start with Juan, because that's just the order that I've got your share pages in from last week. So do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hello, yep, I'm Juan. I'm one of the co-designers of Quintessence, which is a setting neutral TTRPG. We're in the process of launching our first setting book, Age of Goblins, which I have been doing corrections in all day today. So we will have that ready for the UK Games Expo, which we'll be at. And the other thing I've started doing, thanks to Adrian's gentle persuasion, is I've started making YouTube videos about, at the moment, designing a dungeon on a calendar over a period of weeks. And they seem to be going quite well so far, so that's all good.
It's brilliant. I'm really hooked on it.
Cheers, man.
And while we're doing this, by the time we get to the end of this, I'll have to go and find it. Hi, Rob. Hi, Tunic, new person, I think. I haven't seen you on the live before, and Rob McNeil from last time. Okay, so next up we have Pookie. Hi, Nick.
Hi,
yeah.
sorry. Yes, hello. Hi, I'm Pookie. I'm an editor, proofreader, and games reviewer. I've got a blog, Reviews from Rillier, where I have over 2,500 reviews on the blog going back about 15 years. And that's also Unboxing the Nook, where I very unprofessionally unbox things.
You always put yourself down, don't you?
No, it's rough, and the videos are rough and ready.
It's how we like it, though. It is good, but you get through some books, which is nice. You know, you can throw out loads, which is really good. And finally, we've got someone new. Well, not new to my channel. He's been on my channel several times before, and he is the infamous archer that can't kill. And no, from my weekly Pathfinder game, which has finally ended, thank goodness. No disrespect to the players. It was just I just hated running it, to be honest.
I've sold my books.
Have you? Yeah, no, I saw you were selling them. And I don't know what to do with mine. I love the game, but I don't think I can ever go back to play it. But yeah, we have got Jay Lassard from Broken Rat Games. So yeah, if you want to just introduce yourself, Jay, as the new boy.
Yeah, I'm Jay from Broken Rat Games. And this is all my stuff on the screen. Is that? Yeah, I basically wrote role-playing games and other stuff. Yeah, role-playing games really. Some adventures, mainly role-playing games. Ghost Ops, Black Iron, which Pookie has actually reviewed. Delve, Fantasy Gits, Eldritch Gits. There's loads. Basically, there's a lot of stuff. Something for everyone. Basically, something for everyone.
And rather interestingly, I've actually loaded this up not in my drive-through RPG because I was like, well, I own that. Why isn't it all there? And that's just because it is on a Google page. So. Well, if you keep sending them me, I'll keep offering to.
No, you keep buying them.
I'll keep buying them. Welcome back, Helen and Jeff. We have new. So, right. So I think we're going to have to change the rules from 2 weeks ago because I think we made a bit of a balls up really by trying to offer everyone a slot that made a individual comment. So this week we are going to be doing it. So the giveaway is still going to be there. It's for the PDF copy because I'm not made of money as yet. And everyone that makes a comment plus my Patreon members will automatically get us one slot. So each comment you make will just get you one slot for the giveaway, and the giveaway will take place around about 9 o'clock. I appreciate we got quite sidetracked last week, 2 weeks ago. So the plan is to try and stay focused a little bit, do the giveaway. So you've got to be on for the giveaway to respond to the well done, you've won it. If not, we'll just keep going. So before we get into the review, I just want to live do the giveaway on how it was going to work last time. So we had, what did I end up with? There was, I think, 58 individual comments, including my patrons. So I will just go over to this rather professional looking random roller thing that I found on the internet using the future. And I'm just going to press this and then we'll work out number 55 is. So if I, oh dear. So I need to stop sharing, I think. Go back to, see, this is why I want to do it live when people are on. And we then go back to this. And I think 55 is going to be Rob McNeil, isn't it? Because that's the 55th one. So Rob McNeil, who just happens to be here, I'm sure I saw him comment. He's here. So Rob is here. So well done, Rob. You have won a PDF copy of Shadow Dark from last week. I'm so glad that worked out that it was someone that was here. I was having an absolute panic. It was just going to be someone, because there were some people that commented just with the letter R. And I was like, I've got no way of even knowing who that person was. So I don't know if you have Discord, if you can come and find me on Discord, or how I'm going to get the email to you, but we'll sort it out. You know where I am on YouTube. It's not like I can run away. And most people know where I live now, because I wrongly put it on my Discord with something that posted that I was getting in the post. Okay, so let's just see Rob's comment here. So, right, let's actually get into Warhammer Fantasy 4th edition. Who wants to start off then with their very first impression of the book?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I will preface this by saying, ultimately, I quite liked it, but my first impressions were not fantastic. Largely because flipping through it, just from a design point of view, the text was very, very small. And my eyesight is not fantastic. It was also quite closely spaced together, which I found quite difficult to read. I also found just going through it, trying to find the key concepts was easy enough, but stupid things like trying to find out what a strength bonus was took me age. I had to Google it in the end. So my first impressions was not fantastic, if I'm being very honest. I did love the ultimate kind of border and design of the book, and I love the artwork. That introductory kind of story example of play type thing I thought was fantastic, but actually trying to use the book, not great for me. That was my first impression anyway.
Okay, perfect. We'll go to Jay. Sorry, Pookie, put you at the bottom.
All right, so yeah, I mean, I've been playing it since first edition, so I love Warhammer Fantasy. I love the setting. I love the rule system, which really hasn't changed that much. The character creation in the 4th edition is slightly different, which I think is a bit of a. I prefer the character creation in 2nd edition. My first impressions of it was it's Warhammer Fantasy, and it's quite similar to the other Warhammer Fantasies, except the artwork's different. But generally speaking, it was the same thing, really, which I love about it. It just brought it more into the now rather than, But to be honest, yeah, I think it's thicker than the 2nd edition. But yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, a lot of the artwork is nice. I found anything else perfectly fine with it. Like I said, I've been playing since the beginning, so it wasn't a great leap for me. So yeah, I think it's good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, brilliant. First impression.
Excellent. Pookie?
Yeah, I mean, first impression, a cover that's reminiscent of the 1st edition, but different. Yeah. And inside, great artwork, quite a lot of information and detail, and quite sort of compact, trying to get it all in, but with really good artwork. Like Jay, I've been playing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay since the 1st edition, since 1986. And I've played every single edition since, even 3rd edition. Yeah,
Brave
exactly. Man. Yeah, even 3rd edition from Fantasy Flight Games, the one that almost everybody disliked. And it's a good-looking rule book. I think it's giving you the impression is there's a lot of information for you to take in order to get into the book, and I think that's a big problem throughout the game. But once you get into it, it's really kind of compelling.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as everyone else is. So I'm glad you brought it up, Juan. The text is tiny, and I've still got all of my second edition books, all on PDF. I managed to get a bundle that was on one of the packages. I can't remember where it was, and the second edition is a lot easier to read. But we're not here to compare editions.
But to be fair. There's a whole lot less information and options in the second edition.
Yes.
Yeah. See it's half a size, really.
Yeah. It's great that it's the only book that you need.
Yeah.
I'll come on to that later. As in, because it is a Games Master's Dungeon Master Beastry, it's nice, but I've only ever played it. I've not played it. And I can remember when we were first doing the characters, my mind was a little bit blown of all the character options, despite playing first and second edition, and about 10 minutes of third edition, which doesn't count. So yeah, but like I said, the artwork was utterly stunning. But there is no hyperlinks in the PDF, and obviously, if you're following my channel, I do love it when they put hyperlinks in PDFs. I think it really does help. So yeah, but I think from artwork point of view, Jay, I think you'll agree this is probably the best artwork across all editions.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the artwork for second edition was black and white. In some of the books, not all the books, some of them were colour, some were black and white, they were a bit of a mix. But yeah, I don't know. I like the feel of second edition. And I prefer second edition to fourth, to be honest. But no, I think fourth edition. I think it really helps in this game to know the lore, right? If you played Warhammer Fantasy, the war game beforehand,
yeah,
then you'll fall into this easy, right? Especially the old world stuff, which before in the Sigma stuff they do now. But the lore, this is what makes this game, is for the background, really, the setting, and because even though this is not as grimdark as second edition, but it's kind of a mix between first edition and second edition. In a way, it's presented, because first edition was a bit more tongue in cheek, a bit more funny, whereas second edition was more grimdark. Whereas this is kind of a mix of the two. Yeah, I do think that it really helps to know background for this. It really does. I mean, everything's in here. I mean, but there's an awful lot of splat books that come out after this, like Middenheim, and which is important to know. But if you're coming to it from a war game, then you're going to know it, and it's great.
I mean, I think you can get away with not knowing a lot of the background. There are basic elements which you need to know, that essentially that this is a British fantasy role-playing game. Arguably, it's the British fantasy role-playing game. And unlike American fantasy role-playing games, when your characters walk around, there's going to be mud and shit underneath, underfoot. Okay. You need to know essentially that this is, although it's a British role-playing game, the setting is essentially a fantasy version of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay. With orcs and dwarves and elves and all of that. And then you add into that, you've got the Moorcockian treatment of lore and chaos. And the understanding is that of what you're going to play, which is essentially at the very start of things, nobodies in quite lowly,
very much so,
ordinary careers. You can start off playing. The classic one is it's a rat catcher and the dog. But then you can play an embezzler or a bounty hunter, a nun, a pit fighter. There are so many different careers in this, and that's where the game kind of comes alive for you as a player. It's just the range of options you've got in terms of characters, and what's important about each of those characters is essentially not that each one is kind of a class of its own that's got like a progression path that really sort of like develops and details your character, bringing it alive over 4 different stages, and it takes a long time to get into sort of like the third and fourth of the four levels that each character type has.
Yeah, because even like I'm showing the villager there, which is like I say, an absolutely mundane. I'll get onto the comments in a second. We've got a couple of questions in here, but a mundane villager can go on if you stay in that class and just become a village elder. You know, go through like a villager, peasant, villager, councillor, elder. But you can also, when you get fed up with it, quite easily just jump across into anything else within reason.
Yeah.
Well, you can unlimited go anywhere else, but obviously it's going to cost you a lot more XP. But
incidentally, the character I rolled up to kind of familiarize myself with it all, because I think unlike the rest of you, I've never played this game before. I would say I have a very passing familiarity with kind of the Warhammer world just through being in the UK for as many years as I've been in this hobby. But yeah, my example character I rolled up was a human villager. And I've got to say, one of the things I loved was character generation. Essentially, once I'd figured out what all the stats meant and everything, I really enjoyed the fact that in this that you can either choose all your options or you can roll for them. And I like that you were kind of rewarded for rolling for them, as in you get an experience bonus to spend a bit later on. You know, I thought that was really, really interesting. I was kind of thinking about the people I play with and how they play games. And it was interesting because I felt like the more tactical, more character driven, loves a big backstory type thing would love it. But also the people who just like mad characters that are created completely randomly would also love it.
Yeah.
You know, this would not be a hard sell to my game group, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing the Enemy Within campaign. My character for that, I created a halfling embezzler. Okay, this is completely random, and I went through, accepted all the roles. Okay, brilliant, and then you can get really mad that you've got freedom to change small details. So I was handed my character a pair of knuckle dusters, and I went, she's a halfling, she's not going to have a pair of knuckle dusters. So I've been running around the Enemy Within campaign, armed with her mother's third best flat iron.
Nice.
And the thing is, as you grow in, you go up levels, you do get quite powerful. You get really good, fun abilities. Like my character has bonuses to damage and then strike to stun, which is always head hits. She's killed people with that flat iron, basically knocked their blocks off. And this is in a game where we are running around with the other archetypal character type, which is the Troll Slayer, who's on the front cover of that first edition, the dwarf with the big Mohican, who was an absolute slayer, and I'm just sneaking in there and just punching people out with one blow. And sort of like, they're looking at me going, you're the deadliest character we've got. You're just so sneaky about it. But all of these options are really a lot of fun because it forces you to think, okay, I'm playing a character who doesn't normally, I wouldn't think of normally playing, and I've got to be somehow heroic and adventurous and throw myself essentially in the game setting out of my normal social role and go adventure.
Yeah, it's just going back to Juan's comment about character creation. So what he was basically explaining here is character creation. It's really simple. So you've got 9 steps to character creation. But everything is rolled. So whether you want to be a human, halfling, dwarf, high elf, or wood elf is down on a D100. 90% of the time, you're going to get a human. So 10% of the time, you're going to get one of the races. However, if you roll something you don't want, you can just pick the other race that you want. And the same with careers and everything else. But those that take the roles at the end of character creation get extra experience to then spend on their characters to become slightly more powerful to start. And I think that's such a brilliant way of rewarding randomness, and just so you don't necessarily get that archetypal hero, because everyone goes, oh, Jeff, I'm going to do this. We're going to go, I want to be like Slayer, Witch Hunter, things like that. Well, actually, no, I'm a rat catcher. I'm a villager. I'm a barrister. But you're not even a barrister. You're a paralegal or whatever it may be in the game. You then just move over to become whatever you want to be. So we've got a couple of comments I just want to share. And this one I really like. So John commented on one of my videos today, and I think it must be the same guy, basically saying that he's doing games with his 15-year-old son, and he listed games that he's played through, and then finally he's going to start running Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which is brilliant. But who wants to pick up this question here from Tunok?
I will. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Okay. The base system, D100, nice and simple. You're just rolling straight under. But what you're counting after that is how well you roll under to determine success levels. And that carries over into combat. And combat is quite complex because you are counting those success levels and also advantage, which gives you points to spend on later attacks. And the same kind of thing for spell casting. So those elements are quite complex, but they do give you a lot of detail if you stick with it. And in a lot of cases, if you stick with that level of detail, that detail comes back and gives you flavor and feel. Especially if you're doing things like you roll it, you roll so well, you inflict a critical hit on an enemy, or you roll so well on your spellcasting roll, you overcast and you get benefits to the spell itself. So if you've played a D100 system, yes, you can make the jump over, depending from what it is, but be aware it's not the most complex game you're ever going to come across, but perhaps it might be more complex than you're used to.
I think the book does a good job of explaining that as well. I think once you've found that particular section, it is worded in a way that does make a lot of sense and is easy to follow. Also, if you're really interested, I ended up watching a live play just to try and get my head around some of it a little bit. And I think it's High Rollers did one episode, I think, that's fairly easy to find. And I felt that was a pretty good example of how the system works.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to figure it out while they're playing it.
Yeah. So this is the outcomes table that Pookie's on about. So the more, and I think luckily for me, and I think Pookie's the same, we're playing it on Foundry. So it does all the calculations for you. So if you have to work it out yourself, it is a little bit complicated just because you're doing additional maths. But the more, so if you get, let's say you've got a 50 in it and you roll a 50, you succeed, which is at 0 SL or success levels. If you roll a 40, you then succeed with 1. So you just take the tens digit and that becomes the extra number of successes. And you can get all the way up to 6 or more, which technically then gives you this astounding success. So that's, succeeding with additional benefits. And it does this wonderful thing that I talked about in Shadow Dark, is especially when you get into the combat where you roll into hit and they roll to dodge. So combat is a little bit slower because you get roll to hit, roll to dodge, you then get attack, you then get damage, and then damage is rolled against armor. So it's got a few more extra steps than I think most people in games are gonna expect. But you can have this wonderful bit where if you miss, so you fail by, let's say, 1 success level, but they still dodge, and then they fail by 2 or more success levels, one counters out the other one, and then you still hit. They effectively dodge into your miss, which is actually one of the best rules I've ever seen in any game. I think it's absolutely, it's just hilarious. I think just where this game is from a take, it takes itself seriously, but there's also parts that are just out and out, comedy, really.
Yeah, I think the other elements of combat which are quite important are the fact it has hit locations. And hit locations are worked out by whatever you roll, you twist it, and that's for a location. So if you roll a 46, then you've hit a 64. And I think that's brilliant. That's always been very quick. And on top of that, you've also got Christ, I forgot what I was going to say now. Hit locations, there's 3 things. Oh well. Anyway, there's hit locations, which is quite you've got hit locations. You've not got a great deal of hit points either. So you kind of really, in the beginning, you're kind of avoiding combat a little bit if you can, because you've got very few hit points to deal with. And that's brilliant as well, because it makes it feel like you're not going to be some sort of soaking up all this damage that somebody's constantly hitting each other backwards and forwards, and it just becomes ridiculous in some games. That just silly. But in Warhammer, it's a bit more gritty in a sense that you can be killed quite quickly if you're willing to jump in and do the things that will lead to that.
You also don't get a huge increase in wounds either in this. Specific classes do occasionally if you spend points on it.
Yeah. I mean, the Slayer does. I mean, the thing is, obviously, what we're trying to get across here is that this is not known as a grim and perilous setting for, poor reasons. It can be very deadly. But I want to go back to just one further recommendation, just say how easy it to come across from the D100, another D100 system, is that if you are looking to get a taste of this game, pick up the starter set.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, it's a bargain. 5 characters, pre-generated, including a Slayer, a setting, and a good scenario with extra scenarios up that basically forming like a mini campaign. And then there's 3 volumes of extra adventures. It's set in Ubersreich, which is the setting, I think, for the one of the Warhammer Fantasy computer games. Right. And they've turned it into basically a setting for the role-playing game. And then there are 3 collections of scenarios set in and about this town, which form essentially sort of like a very kind of bitty campaign going on overall. Sort of like you can go on off and have adventures in and around that you can go and play, on an irregular basis, rather than committing yourself to a full campaign like The Enemy Within, which we do need to discuss.
Yeah. The other good thing is, and I'll just say this very quickly, is not only is this a British role-playing game, but it's also got a load of great novels linked to it as well. And they're really well written. They're very good novels, and they really get you into it. And if you want to use miniatures, I mean, there's no end of miniatures.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
remind me, is there a shop that sells miniatures for Warhammer?
I mean, what's interesting is if you go back to the beginning of this game, Games Workshop was just beginning to obviously just made the shift to sort of like combination of them with Citadel miniatures. They were putting out these fantasy miniatures, and the Enemy Within campaign came out, and they put out a set of the miniatures for the pre-generated characters, and it's sort of like nobody really wanted to buy them because essentially we don't need them. We're role playing.
Yeah.
The starter set also, what I really like about it is that it teaches you the rules. So we've got a question here from, is it Why Win? I don't know. He's from Spain, so not that's a reason.
Wiley McCow.
Okay, we'll go with that. I'm dyslexic. I can't even see any vowels, so I'm really struggling. But to answer that, if you pick up the starter set, and what the starter set does brilliantly, not only does it teach you the rules, and it shows you as the game master what roles for the players to make as they go through all the scenarios, but it starts in Ubersreich. It gives you a lore book and a guidebook to the city alongside the adventure book. And realistically, even if you're going to buy the main rule book, you still need the starter set, because that Ubersreich rule book, city book, is a really, really handy book to have, because there are like Pookie said, there's 3 whole volumes of adventures that lead back there. The Enemy Within can actually start in Ubersreich. There's one of the starting points for the actual campaign is Ubersreich. Everything leads to Ubersreich. So and you get some dice.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they don't fit in the box.
Yeah,
with the lid shut.
there is lore in here. I mean, it's got that kind of background. But the thing is, with this, I mean, we keep coming back to the start. With the starter set, okay, you've got it there, and you can apply it immediately, and it's giving you content to help you do that.
But I think even if you are completely unfamiliar with the lore, just going through character generation and those sort of grounded character classes and, the descriptions of the initial species, elves and dwarves and whatnot, they're very brief, but they give you a lot. You know where you stand. So you're going into that by the time you finish character generation, even if you've just showed up to a session and you know nothing about it, you've got a feel for how this game works and how the world kind of exists. So I think good.
Yeah, it's absolutely. So what was the previous comment we had?
Okay, so personally, Warhammer always felt like a lived-in world where D&D has romance.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I mean that comes back to my. I was going to say that comes back to my point about you wandering around the streets and you'll get mud on your boots. There's there's going to be an old crone. He's suffering from he's suffering from some rot disease in the nearest hovel. That sort of thing. It's grim and perilous, not just because you're an adventurer, because the world is grim and perilous. You know.
Yeah, and the rule book does it really well.
It's been fleshed out, hasn't it? Really, it's got almost 40 years being fleshed out. So
yeah, but like Pete says, the diseases and germs that are in this, and the amount of times when you get a player to take damage, and then they go, "Oh, can you make a?" I can't remember which one it is. It's not Constitution. Is it Constitution in this? I can't remember. But it's basically that endurance roll, and they're like, "What for?" I go, "Oh no, you've just been hit with a thing." They're like, "It's the sword rusty. It's what's wrong with the claws?" And you go, "Oh, well, you failed it by 2." And they go, and then you roll a dice, and that roll is to see how long it takes to infect them, and then you roll again to see how long they're infected for.
Yeah.
And so nothing happens for a couple of days, and then they wake up covered in spots or fur or whatever it may be.
And I mean. Yeah, and I mean the other thing about combat is that if you take an injury, access to healing is limited. Magical healing, you've got to go and find someone and pay for it if you and in the meantime you can be wandering around. One of our players basically had a sort of like a dislocated jaw or something like that, broken jaw. So he was wandering around essentially with his head bandaged, like Laurel and Hardy, sort of like big kind of nappy round his head for most of the campaign.
Yeah. So you get this. I think this is what you're on about, isn't it, Pookie? Every location. So you've got the random locations that Jay said, which are here we go. It's the random hit locations, and then when there are criticals, and criticals are easy by certain success levels, or even rolling a double on the attack roll automatically takes you into a critical, which makes it deadly. And then you are just rolling on a D100 table for each of the locations, so head, arms, body, legs, that can lead to instant decapitation, like things like broken knees, like number of wounds. And so you are going to be wounded and injured for a long time, and you can end up just losing fingers, and then you've got to carry on playing that character with fingers missing, struggling to hold weapons, or you then might have to swap your shield from one hand back to the other, and then learn to fight with the sword in the offhand. So it's but
it fits with the setting. That's the thing. If you were playing D&D or something like that and you lost a hand, that's huge. You're going to stick out, no pun intended, like a sore thumb. But in this, it's almost expected that you're going to lose something, or lack of sore thumb. Yeah, or it's almost expected that something horrible is going to happen to you at some point, and you can embrace that. That's part of what I ended up really liking about this.
Yeah, I've got to stop. Hold on. Look at that. I sorry, that takes priority. Thank you. Oh no, how am I going to read this? Comradei. So that's euros, isn't it? €5.99. Big fan of the channel and Warhammer role playing. I'm building my own system. Really took great inspiration from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I'll be putting it in for giveaway. So thank you so much for that. If anyone else wants to donate, feel free.
I was about to say though, with the starter set, isn't the inside covers of a box actually a map?
Yeah.
No, I think one of them doesn't.
One's the map, one's the DM screen, which is kind of, and it's the wrong way round, isn't it? It's you've got to hold it portrait side, I think, as opposed
yeah.
to landscape. So there
Yeah,
is
it's a great idea, but
yeah.
Well, you've sold me now. I'm definitely going to buy the starter set.
and I think
huge
you're
value
going to be in
for
luck because I think it's just come back in print.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
It's a good set. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Cubicle 7 has a track record of doing very good starter sets.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, if anyone's got this one, I
Okay.
can't answer. I didn't play.
Okay, so it's bigger, better, longer, and
That's what everyone wants, isn't it?
Sold.
okay, so you've got 5 parts as before. The major change is the fact that I can't remember what they've replaced it with, but the 4th scenario originally was something rotten in Kislev, which took place outside the Empire and was always regarded as well, not the best part. That's been replaced as well, and also the end has been replaced because essentially that was just a big dungeon crawl. And then each of the particular chapters has got its own companion of extra information and lore and so on that you can put into the main campaign. The other thing to bear in mind with it sort of like is that as it exists, there's advice in there. You can play it as is, or there's advice in there now how to change it and tweak it so that if someone else has already played it, they can come to it and see elements of it which are new to them. Because personally, I'm currently just approaching the 3rd part of the campaign on my 3rd attempt to complete it, and this is about as far as I've ever got. And that's going back over, the almost 30 years, 40 years of Warhammer fantasy roleplay.
Which version do you prefer, Pookie?
I like bits of all of them, but I like 1st edition because it's kind of the original. I think 2nd edition is okay. 3rd edition is I actually quite like. Most people don't. I think it's a great little game. It's got its advantages, disadvantages. It's sort of it had a large presence on the table and a lot of little bits. 4th edition I really do like. It's a really nicely presented, accessible version of the game, especially through the starter set. And the other great thing about this edition is that the world lore is being developed far beyond what was available from previous editions. So there's finally a book for Lustria, for the role-playing game, and then there's other books as well coming out which are developing aspects of the setting which we hadn't necessarily seen before for previous editions.
Yeah, so I was trying to do comments and think of things. So right, while that's going on, I have, hopefully this will work. Can we see this? As I'm switching in, I was just loading up. I've got pretty much all the books on PDF. So I think this is what Pookie's on about. So this is the Enemy Within campaign. This is the 1st part. And the reason I'm showing the 1st part is because one of my players is on this, and I don't want to show the 2nd part because we haven't started it yet. But the book itself, it's quite a linear adventure, but it's got all of these grognard boxes for people that have played it before, or if the games master just wants to change it. But also, as Pookie was saying, we've got this Enemy Within, so the Shadows Companion, which I need to just allow it to scroll, which basically has got additional bits to the adventure, changes some of the stuff, but annoyingly, it does have additional rules that you do need for the main adventure. So you've got to kind of go and buy both anyway.
Yeah.
Because this one's got all the traveling rules, and especially as you get into later editions of the books, where certain creatures may or may not exist in the world. And one of the companion books is a full lore book of creatures that may or may not exist in the world. I'm just trying not to spoil the campaign.
Yeah. The other thing to bear in mind with the Enemy of the campaign, it's regarded as one of one of the best campaigns ever written. Probably in the top 10 because of its scope and grandeur. Later parts of it, of the original campaign, I don't think warrant that necessarily. But I think the cleanup, the job they've done to address the campaign and make it more accessible and more consistent in terms of quality, has put it back on its plinth, as it were.
Yeah. So, got a question here from George. I think kind of that's probably covered. I think that's really going to depend on which edition of the book you've got. If you're running 4th edition, the core rule book, then you're going to want the 4th edition enemy within thing. I think that's what you mean. Or do you mean which companion book do you buy? And sadly, I think Pookie and I will probably agree. You kind of really need all of them. It's a little bit mean like that. You are into a 10-book epic purchase.
I mean, the good thing is you don't have to buy the special editions.
No, I do want them though.
They're very nice.
I bet you've got them, haven't you?
Yes.
Now, if you put your postcode and house number down into the description, we can turn it to Pookie's house to go and get it.
I was going to say that's such a shame that you need all that stuff, because I feel like the book is incredibly good value for what you get. The core rule book, the amount of stuff in it.
Yes.
So it's a bit disappointing about the other part then.
Well, it's done for me. It's done in a way that you don't really need it, because you can just run the enemy within campaign over the 5 books, but you're going to miss an awful lot, because the original, and it explains this in the companion books, is they've actually taken out parts of the original campaign to streamline the adventure to make it a little bit more palatable for players. But if you want the full-on experience, here's the other stuff that's in the book. So you don't need it, but it's like, you don't need the Altdorf book. However, in the enemy within campaign book, it basically puts in bold, there's more information about Altdorf and what's going on in the city that you need for the campaign in this book. Marketing point of view, really, really clever. From a horribleness point of view on your wallet, it's an investment. If you don't need it, but because they do cover it in the adventure. But in my opinion, I've got all those books because I want to make it as big and best as I can, if that makes sense.
Also, the other one reason to play this campaign, there's a chance you might end up killing the Emperor's goat.
Okay, so what I want to do now, get into. I don't think there's any more questions that I've missed so far. Any questions that I've missed? We'll just throw this one up from Andrew. It's not really a question, but it's a little bit more. Again, just sort of totally agree on the feel. Yeah. So let's get into people's cons or pros. Pros or cons? They're completely opposite.
Yeah.
I'm such an amateur. Okay, let's get into people's. Let's do good things then. If we want to start sort of throwing out sort of bullet points, what you really like about this. I know we've pretty much covered a lot of the good as it is.
For me, it's definitely the character generation. I think is amazing. I really, really enjoy how embedded into the world it makes you from the get-go. And I really like the setting. Like I said, I had a very passing familiarity with it beforehand, but I love the setting. And I think probably over the rules is the setting is what would make me want to play it more than anything else. I think the book does a great job of kind of hooking you in with that setting. Definitely. So those are my pros anyway.
Jay?
I think the lore of the setting is great. For fact, it's a D100. I love D100 systems anyway. Both, main reason, the artwork for the book. If you want to get the book, it's a nice book to have. It's going to be a game. If you buy it, it's going to be a role-playing game you're going to play for a very long time.
Yeah, especially if you decide to play the enemy within campaign. I mean, we're up to 60 sessions. And we're only just beginning to start play. Well, we do spend a lot of time waffling and bickering, but
Yeah.
Well,
but 60 sessions. Sorry,
no, carry on. Go on.
but 60 sessions to get to the beginning of the third part. We are really developed on basically how we feel about each other as characters.
Yeah, so Jay, you are going to get to play in it because we will be carrying on book 2 soon on the Tuesday. So if you carry on with the Tuesday group that you've joined and you haven't played it, then you will be able to. We're actually at a good point because they've just left somewhere and moving somewhere else. So I'm sure they can discover a wandering rat catcher or whatever you happen to roll up. It's actually as a games master, it's really fun sitting back and watching players roll something they really don't like and then going, do you know what? I'm going to go with that. In my Enemy Within campaign, with one of the guys, he was like, I really want to be a magic user. And he rolled up a serpent and he's attacking people with a broom. That's all he's got. And he is trying to manipulate a way to get to the Magic Academy at Altdorf to become a magician and stuff. So it's trying to fit that in for him.
We've been playing through essentially our wizard is not been certified yet, and he keeps casting magic, and we just refuse to believe that he can cast magic. So for example, it's sort of like, hold on, mate. He was going, but I managed to zap those chaos birds with lightning, and I managed to fly over to the river and pick someone up, and I went, that was in the middle of a storm, mate. Okay, that was just the wind that was making you flying. And see that lightning? It was a lightning storm. You didn't have nothing to do with it. It's just the interplay of the characters is great. And it's playing magic users is hard work in the setting in comparison to other classes.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you're going to play and your first time player's first time game master, do not allow someone to play a magic user.
Yeah.
When you first start. There's just too much going on, I would say.
Also, one question: has he named the broom yet?
I don't think yet. Rob, if you're still on, well, if you've left, you're going to die in the first session.
But your broom will live on.
Yeah. But yeah, I've written down several things here. So I am a massive fan of random tables. Okay, Robbie's saying no, he hasn't named his broom, so that is something we need to rectify when we start off. I don't think he's got a broom anymore because he is technically affiliated with one of the wealthier people within the party now. But I absolutely love random tables, and this has got random tables for most things. And the random damage table hit locations, like Jay said, it just takes that, because there's other games where hit points are so abstract and you can't really do cool shots on hit points. You don't know when they're wounded unless you use the 4th edition blooded rules. There's lots of issues with hit points where most things, the wounds don't go up, so it remains deadly. And I think, like Pookie kind of said, the players will do everything they can after the first combat to never get in a combat again because they realize just how swingy it can be and how quickly, everything can go wrong. Even to the extent where Rob, in part of the Enemy Within campaign, they're staying somewhere and they went into the town and they decided to come back early, and where the boat they were staying on got attacked. And Rob's going to love this. And he's got his family sword that he loves, all right? And he basically jumped into the water. I can't remember if he jumped or slipped into the water. I'm sure he'll correct me. But he would not let go of his sword to the extent where he drowned and died because he didn't want to give up his sword. And then one fate point later. So there is a mechanic in the game where when you do die, you've got this immortality fate points. And most characters get 2 or 3. So it does allow... he jumped. He's just written here that he jumped into the water. quite sensibly to get away because combats are deadly, especially when
Yeah.
you're outnumbered. But so's drowning and water in the lungs. I'm just saying.
But that's not the only way you can avoid death. It's sort of like you can also take. I can't remember what it's called. It's where you basically a whisper from the dark powers. You know, you take a dark favor, and in return, you know, something bad's going to happen to you. You're marked and so on.
Yeah. So corruption and all the dark favors is so when you fail dice rolls, you can go, you know, do you want to re-roll it? And you've got fate and fortune. Fate will allow you to automatically succeed, and fortune, it's a meta currency that you can spend daily. Actually, George has just written that about his only con is the multiple meta currencies. I happen to think the meta currencies. I think you're right in the fact there are 4 or 6, I can't quite remember, and they do get confusing. But I like the fact they're in there. But you can meta currency bad things and encourage players to go to the dark side, so to speak, and then they gather levels of corruption. And then once they get to a certain point, they roll in on a mutation tables, be a physical or a mental mutation that they are then stuck with for the rest of the game. Be it extra arms, temporary madness, blindness, insanity. There's just a huge amount, and it's good. I was watching a game where 3 players went full on corruption within the first 2 hours because they were just failing rolls. Okay, so bad things. Has anyone? Go on.
My good things. The setting, the careers are fantastic, and the range of choice. I say choice. The range of options available, because sometimes obviously you don't have any choice per se, and the feel of it, grim, gritty, grungy, perilous, all in its favor. Great starter set available as well, and one of the best campaigns ever written.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I have got a couple of other things. What I like in this one as well is the fact that religion actually means something in this game. It can be a con as well, because it means players need to they should invest slightly into a god and some sort of deity powers that are going to come on. And there's no balance in the game. And I do, you know, when you get into the monsters manual, there's no levels. You don't know how tough something is until it chomps down on one of the players, and they go, "Hold on, I've just lost 3/4 of my wounds here." And they go, "Well, run away then," you know. And they generally want to run away, and they come up with ingenious ways of getting away from the beast that you think's going to be quite a. Sometimes you just throw it like, "Oh, we'll have a little encounter here. It's a little bit of a quiet night," and then you kill 2 of the party by accident. Which is that a good thing? I'm kind of thinking it probably isn't now.
It keeps people on their toes.
It does, definitely.
There is one other pro about it, as well as that. A lot of the time, especially with 4th edition, is very much compatible with stuff for the 2nd edition, which is still available on drive-through. So there are adventures for the 2nd edition which you can run on 4th, and there's some really quite good adventures for that as well. So
I mean, the other thing with that is that a Cubicle 7 is adapting some of those to the new edition very slowly, but I mean they've even done a 3rd edition scenario as well.
Wow.
Okay, so has anyone got anything else really good they want to say, or even mildly good is fine? Right, let's get to the dog's dinner bit. What do we dislike? I'm
going to go first because we're going to have to go back. Yep. Relative complexity. Okay, it is. It's a game that is almost eased if you are playing it online using the VTT. So it is difficult for you to learn, and it is difficult for you to teach it to your players to an extent. And keeping certainly track of things like advantage in combat can be fiddly. Beyond that, I think that's really it, because you know everything else is kind of like, you know, is really good. There's, I think, for some people, and I know there's probably going to come with a couple of you, is just the wealth of information in here, possibly overwhelming. not as accessible as it could be, but at least it's all there.
Juan.
Right. I think I'm looking at this a different way to the rest of you because I've never played it before. For me, I feel like some of it could do with some of the fat trimming off it. If they released a newer edition, I think there's some of the attributes, I think they are very similar and they could be condensed down a little bit. Again, like Pookie said, the complexity, it's not necessarily the way it's presented in the book, though it does a good job of explaining it. It's all over the place. You're constantly flipping backwards and forwards, which I found quite irritating, particularly if it's a really little thing like trying to work out what your toughness or strength bonus was or what that bonus ended up being. It's one sentence that if you miss, it's not really mentioned. It mentions a bonus here and there, but it doesn't really allude to how you generate that bonus, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I found it eventually, but it was quite frustrating. But yeah, I'm also controversially, I'm not a big fan of D100 systems. I don't like having to roll under something. But that being said,
Jay's just trying to remove you.
I can see, yeah. sorry. But that's just me. I've heard it before. Don't worry. But that being said, this seems a better system. I like the way the levels of success or the levels of failure work. I thought that's really, really interesting. And actually, the way the book explains that concept is quite straightforward. But for me, it is a lot in the book. It's not like Pathfinder. When I picked up Pathfinder, I thought, oh my God. And having gone through that and attempted to play it, I never want to touch it again.
Totally agree.
That was second edition, by the way. First edition, I didn't think was too bad. But
no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, but Warhammer, though I found it a bit confusing to begin with, it's a game I would actually like to play. You know, I was hooked in by the lore. I think I've got my head around the core concepts. I think they'd come a lot quicker while you're playing. So yeah, I think my main con is it seems very intimidating if you're coming at it and you're not a big fan of D100 games or you're coming at it from D&D. Maybe I think the concepts are very different. I don't think they're any more complicated. They're just different. So I think that's my only real con with it, if I'm being honest.
Okay, Jay.
Okay, so I've got two. My first one is the meta currencies thing. I'm not a fan of meta currencies. I'm really not. I think they can be used as a bit of a cop out, and it's kind of like it worries me that players don't really try because they have a meta currency to fall back on. Oh, I'm not worried because I can just roll my fate dice or whatever and come back to life again. It's like death saves, do you know what I mean? And I don't like that kind of thing. I want players to think tactically, and I want players to consider their options and not just running because they've got a meta currency they can fall back on. So I'm never a big fan of meta currencies unless, if they wrap them inside the lore, a bit like the whole dark thing and corruption and stuff, that's good because it's something that's part of a setting really, and I quite like it that way. But things that are just randomly thrown in, I find them a little bit annoying. So meta currencies do annoy me a little bit, not to a point where it'll stop you from playing it, but it's something that I would probably option out if I was going to run it. Cut it down from a few anyway and just keep the ones that I quite liked. The other problem is for combat for me, and this is a lot of D100 games at the moment, especially combat heavy ones like things like RuneQuest and Mithras and things like that. Is the whole not strike rank, what they call the whole step thingy, right?
Success levels.
Success levels, that's it.
Yeah.
See, I preferred, and I'm going to have to reference first edition because I played it, and so, but I preferred first edition in a sense where with parrying and stuff, which is always an annoying thing in D100 games because you hit somebody really well and then they parry it and you're like, and it can be a bit tooey throwy, right? A bit like armor class. You're hitting somebody with a 25 armor class and you just keep bouncing off, and it just becomes annoying after a while, right?
Yeah.
With the first edition, and you parried, all it did was reduce the amount of damage you took. So if you hit them and they parried it and they successfully, they removed you basically lost D6 damage against them. It repelled for D6 damage, but rest of the damage still went through. And I actually kind of prefer that because it isn't all this hitting me, hit you, hit me. And if you've got a really good parry in the game, you're going to always be good. And that annoys me a little bit. But that's just because I played first edition and I preferred it for that reason. The whole strike rank, the whole skill level thing came in on second a little bit, I think. Yeah, I preferred it when it was a lot less. But apart from that, I see the only two cons, I think, and those two can be pretty much fixed, I think, really.
Okay, cool. I'll get rid of me D100 because I'm not a massive D100, despite Call of Cthulhu being one of my favorite games, and this being incredibly high in my top 10 as well. But I think success levels, I would like to see more games bring in that success levels. I think it's absolutely amazing. So my issues with this are you need to buy the Games Master screen. You cannot run this as a Games Master without buying the screen because, as Juan says, you'll spend too long in the book trying to work out. And it's one of the best Games Master screens out there, probably rightfully so, and it needs it. I also think if you're going to run this live, you're in for an awful lot of headache. So running it off of VTT, and I think most of the things you're talking about, Jay, will disappear off the VTT because it's nice and simple. But my two biggest bugbears I have with this are the magic system and the combat system, which so the combat system does individual advantage based rules, and it is horrible. So what advantage works? So as you do things successfully in combat, you then gain a additional meta currency that then automatically adds one success level to your attacks. And as you then, and everyone is keeping track of their own individual things as the game master, you're doing it. And what Up in Arms expansion did was get rid of all that and do group advantage, which is amazing. It's so much simpler. So the big flaw I have with this is you cannot run the base game where you can, but you shouldn't without buying an additional book. You're then going to have to do that with Magic. So someone actually commented on here, and I saw it. Where is it about the Magic usage just falling over all the time? Here we go. It's Comradei. Right. So what the Wings of Magic book does is it changes the way the casters work. So the problem with rules as written on 4th edition is Magic users will spend, if you want to cast a spell, they've got to get a certain amount of success levels to cast the spell. They can spend 3 actions in a combat doing this. Haven't got enough. And everyone carries on going round. Winds of Magic changes it so they can actually cast spells considerably quicker and more efficiently. And again, that's a second book you've got to go and buy. You can buy one of the adventure books, which unless you don't want to get Winds of Magic. But realistically, you do need Winds of Magic and Up in Arms. And then this is probably one of the best games out there by a long way. And luckily, Foundry is updated to both of those systems automatically.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Foundry is great, but it's basically one person working on it. And when we're playing through, we're always going, there's always something that's not quite right. There's always something that's a little bit broken. And, you know, our referee, our game master Griff, has to go in and go, oh, I'll tweak that so it does what you want it to do. So it's not perfect, but it does handle literally all of the grunt work.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just do. So we're about on time, so I thought we'd do an hour. We've then got a question that I want to pick up from George, which I will come on to. I want to just do now. Thumbs up, thumbs down on our review. We'll then do the random thing. So I've managed to keep track of all the names, and then we can just get into just talking about other stuff and other things. So, right. Where is everybody? So we're going to go down on 3. Up, down, or stay where we are. So 3, 2, 1. There you go. Look at that. 4 thumbs up. So, slight spoiler. We've got thumbs up in the comments. This is actually my #1 game of all time. So, if you've watched my top 30, this went from 4th last year to #1. Sorry, 2 years ago to #1. I absolutely do. It's so you do need more books, but it's absolute belter of a game. So, while we just carry on talking, let me just get the rest together to do the giveaway. So we have,
if it's Rob this time, it's a fix.
Yeah, so we've got 17 individuals, so hopefully everyone's still on. There's
a lot of thumbs up.
There's another name on here that hadn't actually commented, so we might not have been aware of the rule. So I'm gonna throw Sir Curvio in. So yeah, going forward, you've got to comment within the first hour to be included in the giveaway, but you're just there. You've given a thumbs up, so I know you're here. Oh God, I'm typing. Right, so we now have, it's ended now. So what have we got? We've got 18 people. So just change accounts. Does that mean that you're getting 2 picks?
He's gaming the system.
He is. I don't know.
It's a pity it's not 3 less. You could have rolled 3d6.
Yeah. So right, let's go. No, that wouldn't work, would it?
No, that's what I'm saying. If it was 3 less, you could do 3
Oh, right,
6. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 18. So I need to get that thing now to be 18, don't I? From 1 to 18. Can you imagine if it is Rob? If it is Rob, then he's going to be all excited. So let's just need to share now. And let's go over to the random. They won't know the order, so this will be the first thing. So we've got 18, so we'll just generate it. 18th. Oh my God. We know who that is without even looking, don't we? So that is, here we go. So, sir, at the 18th here at the bottom, Sir, I don't know how we pronounce it. Sir, here we go. You have won. Sir Curvio, is that? Do you reckon?
Cuervo
has won.
Cuervo.
Yeah, has one copy. So, again, if you can try and either share your email address, you might not want to do it in here. Come on to my Discord or private message me on Discord. If not, my email address is also linked into the channel. So email me on there. Am I going to know it's him? Just suddenly thought I'm going to be thrown in with loads of them. I'll give away 20 copies of the book and go, oh.
I've already sent you 4 emails.
So yeah. So I'm gonna have to work this out to be a little bit more professional at some stage. But yeah, we'll think of a code word. So Rob, I know you are on my Discord. So you're the tattoo man, aren't you? I think. I think that's the guy that you said, and yeah, so we will sort it out. Right, let's carry on then. So right, I just want to pick up on this one, which was where's it gone? About the new book that's coming out. Looking for, here we go, Overboard, looking forward to the dwarf book. I've got the dwarf book. I already have it. So, and I've done a video on it on my channel already. I've done a look through because I bought a copy from Cubicle 7 and they send you the PDF straight away. So I pre-ordered it. So that is on there. So if you want to have a look through, go and look through on my channel. But yeah, so that is coming. Where is this thing? Where's that comment that I just shared? Basically, it's the new world. So it's the new one. Have you all seen what they are bringing out?
Isn't this
the old world? The old world book.
Yeah, basically, but it's powered by a D6 engine rather than the percentile mechanics of whfr.
I think it's still using D10s.
I
think, yeah, but it's using T10s instead of D100s.
Right, it's D10s. So it's a dice pool system.
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That's going to be compatible with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and Games Workshop stuff. That's going to be compatible with 4th edition, but a whole brand new book that I'm waiting for it to drop on pre-order because then I'll just buy it and then stick it on my channel there and then that night as I go through it. But I'm really excited for this. But I am a little bit. I don't know why they. Well, it's obvious why, for monetary reasons, but why they didn't just, do it on the set as bring out an expansion book. They could have just, because it's based 250 years before additional Warhammer.
Is this Cubicle 7 as well?
Yes, yeah, it's Cubicle 7.
Wow.
Yeah. So they've announced it. It's due for pre-order in about a month-ish. So yeah, and then next year they've got the Horus Heresy for 40k. Well, I think it's technically 30k. Is it Horus Heresy? It's about 10,000 years before. Yeah. So they're bringing it, and again, that's a new system. So it's not going to use Wrath and Glory. It's not using the old world system, and it's not using 4th edition rules. So it's exciting times for Cubicle 7, I think.
Well, basically, what can you say? A golden age for Warhammer role-playing games.
I think so. I think. Oh, before people start disappearing, start writing in the comments what you'd like next. So we can think, because the next review is down for the 7th of May. And then we've got one on the 21st, because it's first Wednesday and third Wednesday. It's just because I only get 5 hours on StreamYard for free. If not, I've got to pay something like £80 a month for it. So, and I haven't got the intelligence to work out how to do this over Discord yet. So, but yeah, if there's anything else you want us to, but yeah. Any expansions you'd recommend for Warhammer that's on here?
Because so I've already recommended the starter set, so I would say, if you've got the starter set, then pick up the Uber's Reich volumes, 3 volumes, because they expand the lore and they just give you just a big collection of scenarios to run in and around the town. And also the Archives of the Empire source books are good. I mean, our favorite bit from that, or one of my favorite bits was from the first volume, where I discovered that halflings are well known for their love of pies, and they've had a civil war about whether or not basically a pie, basically a stew or a fruit, with content with a pastry topping is a pie. They settled it that is a pie, and so is a pie with a base as well. But what is not acceptable is sausage rolls. Sausage rolls are anathema. So my character, I mean, discovering sort of like just a small piece of that and just going, okay, because they don't use enough pastry, essentially. I killed another halfling who I discovered was making sausage rolls. Wow. I literally punched her head off. I didn't actually mean to punch. I didn't mean to kill her. It was just a case of I punched her so hard, her head flew off at 2d6 feet in a random direction.
All over a sausage roll.
What do you mean all over a sausage roll? That's basically the worst thing you could ever do to a halfling. Offer a sausage roll.
I'll keep that in mind.
Not in other fantasy settings. This is fine. Just in the old world.
Yeah. So here we have someone else. So he still plays 5e third-party content. I still play third-party. I think everyone's still going to keep playing 5e for a long time.
Well, I think that's easy because essentially 5e's not gone away. I mean, the new edition is just a revised edition, and that's one reason why I don't think it's been a success, because it's just a revised edition. It's not a new one.
Yeah. I think there are other reasons why it's not a success, but I'm going to keep that to myself. Maybe one day when I'm drunk. So Victoriana looks interesting. I think Paul has picked Victoriana up. Though I think that's about the 2nd or 3rd edition of the book, which Cubicle 7 have picked up, and I think they're converting it. I can't quite remember. Is that
just trying to think. Well, yeah, must be something like that. I've certainly got all of the other editions, right down even to an Ashcan version of the original version of the role-playing game before it was sold to Cubicle 7. Because originally it was designed for the fusion system. Right,
I don't know. What's the fusion?
Fusion is sort of like a... It's a 2d6 system, I think, sort of dating. It was sort of like something that basically created between Art Elsevier Games, I think, and Hero Games back in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was a generic system.
Didn't they try and do Cyberpunk with it at one point? Or one of the Cyberpunk source books?
Sort of, yeah.
Cyber Generation, I think it was.
Night fight, something like that. It was,
Yeah. Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
So we've had 3 ideas, all from Andrew Beaton. So Troubleshooters, Delta Green, and Castle Frankenstein. Delta Green is a nice game. I don't know what Castle Frankenstein is. I can guess.
It's basically, hold on. It's a game without dice. It's diceless.
Was it? What, charades?
There was a few diceless games that popped up. I remember giving Amber a go at one point.
Well, Amber's the first.
Yeah.
And sadly, I don't mind what you do next time. I'm going to the theatre.
Oh, okay. Is that deliberately?
Amber, yeah.
Is it deliberately? I'm going to see a play about Jaws, so unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes.
I think Jay's going to like the last one that's been thrown up. Latest edition of Talos. We have actually started. That's the expansion for Amber, that isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'm currently playing Talos, and so's Jay. So we started it on Tuesdays. We're on 5th, not the latest edition, and that's one of my all-time favorite fantasy games. Talos is such an amazing game. Really, really underrated, and people of a certain age seem to know of it, and then no one else. It's like completely sparse when you mention it.
I mean, I'd be great if you did that one, because then I wouldn't have to read it, because I've never looked at it. I've barely looked at it, because it's always been. I've looked. My initial reaction has been sort of like, sorry, okay, so you're pitching this. This is the game without any elves. Okay, well that looks like an elf. Oh, and that one looks like an elf.
But they're not called elves. That's the key thing.
Whereas if I'm going to play a fantasy game, I'm quite, and they're going to be no elves. So I definitely don't want any elves.
Okay.
I wanted to be elfless.
All right.
I do think though you're hard pressed to find 3 people with the new edition of Talos, to be honest. But
yeah, well, basically, if are you two both okay for the 7th of May?
Yeah, all good.
So we need to find a replacement for Pookie, because we can do it as a threesome.
She's available. She's available.
Okay. Is she better than you? So if you're watching this and you want to come on and review whatever is picked in the next couple of weeks, you will get a free copy of the book. But so being on the review panel, I will make sure that you get a copy of the book within a week to 2 weeks to review it. You don't get paid for coming on, but I'm happy to.
And you don't have to have a cat.
Yeah, you don't have to have a cat. I haven't got a cat.
I have no cat.
I haven't got a cat. But yeah, if you want to come and find me on Discord, and we can see about coming in and joining. You have to send me money though. £50. No, you haven't really. But yeah, no, if you want to do that. So Vesen's been thrown down as an idea as well. So I'm taking all these ideas, and what I'll do is I'll put them on my YouTube channel, and we'll do a poll. Tales of Argosa has been thrown, which is an absolutely amazing book.
Never heard of it.
You haven't watched everything on my channel, have you?
Not everything, no.
It's one of those.
Review, actually.
Did you? Yeah, there's quite a few people have said that. There's quite a few people on the Discord have bought it. It really is sort of gaining. I've got Steve booked in for an interview as well.
Cool.
So I'm speaking to him.
I am happy to review any RPG.
So yeah. Oh, someone's played the Fuson system. I keep forgetting you can't see all these comments. There's me just like going through. So yeah.
Yeah, that was another one they did. Yeah, it was very much an early 90s thing.
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah. So there's lots in here for sort of Talos.
No,
Vesen.
No, it wasn't. Basically, the role-playing game that essentially
you answer into with this one? You're answering
Yeah,
Andrew's,
basically,
yeah.
no, that's Empire of the Petal Throne.
Yeah.
Okay. How are we going to answer all these questions without you here, Pookie? Are you going to take your mobile with you?
We'll
when
text
you're
you,
in?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, no, we'll just call it. It'll be quicker. Just if you just answer it. And
Yeah.
pick up.
That'll
I'm
get
sure
me
the other
thrown-
people won't mind.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You know, it.
Right. So he's saying that he's just messaged me on Discord. Yeah, I've got him. Right. Okay. Right. And it's absolutely cool. There you go. Hello. Right. So no one else can scam me pretending to be him. Unless that is someone else already scamming me, pretending to be him on here, then well done for you.
Scamception.
Yeah, because I do get an awful lot. We're on about this on my Discord today. Does everyone else get people messaging and going, "Hi, what are you doing?" And all they're trying to do is make me buy their art, and I'm like,
Oh God, yes.
Oh no,
Yes.
I get, as a working illustrator, I get the opposite. The amount of, I was going to say something bad then. The amount of
Carry on.
fake. All right, the amount of bullshit commissioners that you get emailed, and they all have this weird kind of quirk. I noticed it a couple of years ago, but it's always from somebody that they have to say in the email they have a hearing impairment. they all have that. I must get probably about 6 a week, I reckon. But they all have this one little quirk that whoever's commissioning it, they're normally from a university in Texas or something like that, and they all have a hearing impairment. It's weird.
"Wow, it's crazy." Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think there's a collective of them. Sorry, there can't be a collective of them because that's socialist. There's an organization of them in Texas just got together, going, yeah, no, it's fine. Just tell them that you're deaf. It's fine.
Yeah. Just seems just every now and again I get an email. It's just weird. Just weird.
Yeah. I mean, I got to the point where I go.
Thank you, George.
Try and sell
Hopefully,
me artwork.
yeah.
And I
Sorry.
go, basically, are you going to sell me artwork? Stop wasting your time.
Yeah. Good luck, George. Apparently, he was watching Arsenal at the same time, so we'll see how he gets on. But I'm like, I said, my wife is a working artist, and they're like, I don't care. Maybe she's not that good. You're like, what? Cooking? Just being my wife. I think she's incredibly brave, to be honest, because I couldn't be my wife.
The other big one, and I bet your wife gets these as well, is people wanting to put your artwork in directories and conventions and things like that. I get loads of them, and it's like, for the low price of $5,000, you can exhibit with us.
Yeah. She also gets. Can't you do that cheaper? I could probably do that myself. And she's like, well, why are you even messing? If you can do it yourself, go and do it yourself.
My least favorite are the ones that say, "Hey, we need this," and then you start sending specifics. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say quickly, Andrew, your Deadlands book is in the post. That's it.
Okay.
Ooh. So we've got one, two, three,
Deadlands would be a good one to review, actually. Thinking about
Deadlands. What? Oh yeah, but do you do that as a book or a system?
I don't know.
Yeah, you got to go Deadlands Savage World because the first 2 editions were dog poo.
Well, I mean, the first 2 editions. Hold on. There is essentially there's the original Deadlands, and then it switched to Deadlands Savage Worlds. That was the next edition.
There wasn't. I thought there was 2 editions with the card generating characters.
No. What you had essentially, what you had was Deadlands, and then you had Deadlands Hell on Earth, which was a separate game and a sequel.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you've got a third game, Lost.
That's the one I've got.
Lost Colony, isn't there?
Yes, Lost Colony.
Yeah. See, I wanted to like it. What I didn't like was you'd use the cards to determine the number of dice that you got when you on the stats, which was so incredibly random that you could end up with a really, really weak character or an incredibly tough character at certain parts. It was just.
And then after that, you're sort of like, okay, well, I've used this to determine the stats, and then you derive the skills, and then you go, you don't use the stats for just about anything.
Yeah,
it's just such a disconnect, and it's sort of like using the cards for flavor's sake rather than, actual, not necessarily game balance, but really, anything that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas, the use of the cards in Savage Worlds is done reasonably well, basically for initiative. And then there is that as well.
Sorry, I'm just answering Dirty Dwarf. He just says, has anyone played this? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I have, yes. I had the odd experience where I basically went, okay, I don't know what character class I'm going to play. And then one of the because it's sort of like, it's derived from Dungeons & Crawl Classics, you kind of have a character's prior occupation. And one of the characters was housewife. And I went, brilliant, that's great. And then they said, oh, you've got to find a picture of a character, you sort of like who is a housewife or something like that, and pick like a movie star or something. And the first one that came up for me was Frau Blucher from Young Frankenstein. Yeah, exactly. And it was sort of like,
So they're all being thrown out. We've got Soulbound now as well, which I do love. Soulbound.
Well, I definitely think you should take a. I mean, I don't think personally, probably we've done a Warhammer setting, so we should do something different to that, and we should do something different to a fantasy setting because we've done 2 on the trot.
Yeah, we've done 2 of those.
Yeah.
Green, that's why.
I don't do Delta Green because I want to be here for that.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, right. We're doing Delta Green then on the 21st. Yeah, 21st of May.
Let's have a look.
Anybody said Fallout?
Fallout looks good. I'm just checking
my Fallout, but yeah,
I'm just checking my diary to make sure I'm not away now. What am I thinking? I never gone. My wife is currently on holiday in some foreign country. Like she went to New York last year. I stay at home with the dogs because I'd never go anywhere. So yeah, I'll be available.
Yeah, I just have a very incredibly busy May. I've got 3 conventions to go to.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you going to the expo this year, Pookie?
Yeah, I'm going to be there end of the month. Then the previous weekend prior to that, I've got Chaosium Con.
Yeah, then, I'm hoping to get to Chaosium Con as well.
And then at the beginning of the beginning of May, I've got Dice on the Borderlands, where you go and role play in a castle.
Oh, cool!
Oh, nice.
An actual castle, not sort of like a Victorian copy of a castle, but an actual castle.
Which particular castle is it?
Chepstow.
I am none the wiser.
It's just across the.
Where is it?
Okay, where is it? Okay, it's just across the border in South Wales.
Okay.
And it's a distressed castle, but it's still standing. And there are some rooms in there which are usable. You've got electricity and so on, and tables and stuff. And did it last year. So yeah, I actually played. Forgot the name of it. Altaussorian Games steampunk game in a castle.
Cyberpunk.
Not cyberpunk.
Oh, is that Castle Falkenstein?
Castle Falkenstein in a castle.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And it was all themed around that castle as well.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Fantastic.
That sounds
amazing, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the thing is the only thing you're paying for is travel and to get into the castle because it's a National Trust property. The friend I'm going with, she's a member of the National Trust, so she's going for free.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So we've got DM Blackwell's just joined us. I think I might be right in saying that he is one of the creators of this. And I bought a copy of. It's why I did my weekly video. I brought it forward because I wanted to buy a copy of their book that was on. I can't remember. Black Lodge Games did it, and it's. I was just sharing. I did a copy of it on my week, my weekly. You know, when I do the games that I bought, and it's this, which say. Francis was going through, and it's basically a role-playing game where I'm just trying to do that. You're playing knights in armor, and it's Horde Wars. You are fighting lots and lots of people all at once. It's got all these wonderful rules, and it uses a D12. there aren't many games that use D12, and more games should use D12.
Colonial Gothic.
Yeah, so you get to fight dragons, you get to run your own castle, and loads of other stuff. The rules here are 12 pages, and apparently, according to Fraser, it's really easy to play. So I jumped on, tried to buy a copy, $70. I was like, go on then, why not? And we don't ship to America, to the UK. I was like, bollocks. So okay, I bought the PDF anyway.
Well, I mean, you need to find someone who will handle your shipping for you.
So here he is. He's yeah. So yeah, it's such a good looking book. One of Fraser's moans was it was all single down like this. As a dyslexic, I love it. It's so easy to read. It's quite a nice looking book. So Jay, that'll flop into a Tuesday night at some stage. Flop in. That sounds gross.
Where's the X card?
Yeah. Right, Costume Con was last week in the States. Yeah, because for us, it's 1 week before the expo, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to decide whether I can get away with 2 weekends away, but then my wife's abroad, so
yeah,
just go. She'll never know.
It's incredible because I mean it's sort of like so you've got that weekend bank holiday, then you've got expo, and my expo starts on the Thursday night because I've got the press thing to go to, and it's just sort of like it's incredible. It's going to be a really tight week, couple of weeks.
So we've got Pirate Ball being thrown out now.
Oh, 100% in for Pirate Borg. I've actually played that one.
I have. It made Rob almost cry.
I thought it was brilliant.
My cat doesn't like the suggestion of Pirate Borg. She's just gone.
Yeah. Oh no, Dirty Dwarf's wife's abroad as well. Maybe we're both married to the same person. Could you imagine finding out this way that my wife
essentially they've gone on holiday together?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She has gone with another lady, so she claims. So, yeah. Right. I think we will pull it there. Blades in the Dark.
Blades in the Dark. Fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, we've got too many suggestions now. So we need to sort out a book. I'll throw these onto thing. I'll take Delta Green off, and we'll put Delta Green in for when Pookie's back. So we just need to find someone else to join the review. We can do it as a 3, but I think 4 just looks better on the screen to me. I
mean, hold on. Take a snapshot now. Okay, and then you can just put words in my mouth.
Yeah. Right. Thank you everyone for watching and joining in. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've obviously like, share, subscribe to my channel. We will be back doing this again with a mystery guest on the 7th of May and a book to be decided, and back on the 21st of May with us 4 doing Delta Green, which if you've never heard or played Delta Green, it's basically Call of Cthulhu with the X-Files is the way I kind of think of it. There's more to it than that, but in my mind,
and bear in mind that it does predate the X-Files.
Nothing predates the X-Files because the X-Files is infinite. This is biggest X-Files fan in the world. Well, actually, up until the last couple of seasons where it went really, really bad, and then they had a gap, and then it went really bad when they did some more. So yeah, actually, the first 2 seasons were good, maybe 3, and then that was it, wasn't it? Really?
Are you sure about which seasons are good now? Because I'm not. Definitely,
season 1 was definitely very good, I think. So. But yeah, I've got the contact details for the giveaway, so for both of you. So thank you for that. I'll just work it out, and I think that all the cats are saying goodbye as well. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and I'll be back doing my normal stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.